Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Oh, he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome. This is Freaky Friday on the Arrowhead Addict channel. I'm Adam Best, joined as always by Sterling Holmes. Sterling, brother, big Monday Night Football tilt. How you doing, and are you ready?
Oh, I'm back, baby. And I see you're back because you grew a mustache out. Congratulations, way to join the mustache train. Yeah, I'm all in. I'm believing in this Chiefs team thoroughly, and we're gonna get to a lot of those fun questions as the show goes on. But boy, do I feel good. Monday Night Football down in Duval. Liam Cohen might be a weird ass guy, but dude can coach. And the Jaguars are playing some decent ball, sitting at 3-1.
He is a bit of a weird ass guy, and out of all the coaches to kind of start shit with, Robert Saleh, I mean, he doesn't look like he can't whoop some ass. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if that's the guy I would have got into it with. On the mustache front, I have you to thank for this because I had never tried a mustache before you and I made that bet, and losing this, it's really something I enjoy. The beard wasn't really working for me this year. But I like to do it with the stubble, the beard stash. It makes it extra sleazy, kind of like, you know, the Henry Cavill and Fallout look is the way I'm rocking it. So for now, we're double dragon mustachio. So there we go. We got a great show for you guys. We are going to preview the matchup with the Jaguars, but before that, a little bit of business to take care of.
Yeah, baby, that's Underdog. All right, Underdog. You know it. We know it. It is what it is because Underdog is awesome. Football season is in full swing, and it's the best place to get in on all the action. Super easy to play on Underdog. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. You get those picks right, and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. So right before the show, I like doing it live. I think it's fun. Let me get the exact numbers for you guys, so that way I can let you guys know what I'm rocking with for Monday Night Football. Tried making it easy as possible. I'm just going to go with 2 picks. I'm going higher on Patrick Mahomes touchdowns, 1.5. I think he throws 2. And then Trevor Lawrence, I'm going lower than 217.5 pass yards. I understand that Trevor Lawrence and the Jags might have to throw a lot to keep up with Kansas City if Kansas City's offense is somewhat back. Point remains, I am so bought into this Chiefs secondary, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, if they want to have any success, it's more or less going to have to be done on the ground. And Brian Thomas has really struggled so far to start the season. I like this matchup for KC, so that's what I'm rocking with on Underdog. And for you guys, if you want to follow along, download the app today, sign up with promo code ARROWHEADADDICT to score $100 in bonus funds or entries when you play with your first $5. That's promo code ARROWHEADADDICT. What a deal. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado, first time games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and President State where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Consider the play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call it 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE and wire. Text Hope and Wire 467-369.
Got him. Yeah, Patrick yesterday. Sorry, Patty, I love you, but that wasn't even that's like Juju racing Xavier worthy, just not close. So tip my hat to you, brother.
Thank you. So, we have a hat. You could have tipped it.
Well, I can tip my hat. Time for today's segment, 10 Scorching Hot Questions.
So when you say psychosomatic, you mean like he could start a fire with his thoughts?
Let's preview this game. I've got 10 questions for us. We're going to rip through them rapid fire style. Excited to dig in. Let's start off with Patrick Mahomes. Really interesting. His average depth of target is up to 8.1 yards. It was 6.1 yards last year, so up a full 2 yards. That's quite the difference. And it's over 8 for the first time since 2021. And remember, back in 2018, 2019, 2020, teams were playing more single high. They were playing defenses that were a little bit more explosive play friendly. So I think this is a really impressive number. My question for you is it sustainable?
So first and foremost, thank you for the super chat, Dog Petter. Always appreciate you. He says, Brashard Smith, 80 total yards on offense, market. Love it. We're going to talk about that a little later on. That's closer to number question 8, so we'll get in more detail on that. But I like your prediction there. When it comes to, is this sustainable for Patrick Mahomes and the average depth of target, I think the answer is yes. The reason being is Tyquan Thornton and Xavier Worthy. I think it goes up even more when Rashee Rice comes back, which might be counterintuitive because you think, oh, well, isn't he going to be more around the line of scrimmage on a lot of those catches? Yeah, but I still think it'll be farther than Hollywood Brown or Juju Smith-Schuster. So I think it's all going to be a little more even. Tyquan Thornton is perpetually getting open deep. Now, if his snap counts continue to dwindle down, then I think the answer is going to more go towards probably 7.3, 7.4. It'll drop down a little bit because Tyquan's doing some heavy lifting here on those. So that is one thing to keep an eye on, but he is getting open. So if he keeps playing, expect at least a couple of deep throws a game to him. Xavier Worthy is going to be used all over the field, but when Rashee Rice comes back, I think it'll be more in the deep ball area more than all over. So I think that will at least elevate some of the ADOT numbers as well. Maybe it's not 8.1, but I think you're going to be really close to 8 for the first time in a long time for Patrick. I do believe there is some sustainability, especially with the offensive line holding up and Patrick trusting said offensive line.
With Tyquan Thornton, too, knock on wood, I want Hollywood Brown to stay healthy, but that has not generally been the case through his career and tenure in Kansas City. So I think we're going to see a lot of Tyquan Thornton. The other thing, too, is, Rashee Rice is going to lower that ADOT a little bit, but Rashee Rice is also going to soften up those, the deep passing game. He's not going to allow safeties to cheat back and sit back, because if you do that, Patrick Mahomes will feed him on slants all day and he will feast with the yak. So that, and Travis Kelce now becomes the third option, which I think is a much better spot for him at age 35. It's going to allow him to get more wide open, to rack up more yak as well. But I just think that it's not only the personnel. I mean, Josh Simmons is making him feel infinitely more comfortable. You can just see it. Having the left tackle he trusts just has been the biggest thing. But Tyquan Thornton, Xavier Worthy, it's also a mindset change from Patrick Mahomes. You can just see it. And I think from the coaching staff as well, they realized that they kind of surrendered and waved the white flag a little bit too much on the deep ball in these previous 2 seasons. And it's good to see them kind of push the envelope there. So I think it is sustainable. I don't know if it's going to be quite 8, but I think he can get back to that 7.7, 7.8 of like 2022, 2021 for sure. Number 2, Jacksonville's wide receivers got a lot of hype coming into 2025. Brian Thomas Jr., I mean, he was like a first-round fantasy pick. Everyone was calling Travis Hunter generational, and they both are struggling mightily. Will this continue on Monday Night Football?
Yes. I think Brian Thomas is a great wide receiver. I think he'll get right. End of the day, Jacksonville is winning games. They're 3-1, and they've been great on the ground, so they haven't needed him to be great through the air. But against this Chiefs secondary, good luck. I never understood the Travis Hunter pick to begin with. This was not a question of him being a extremely talented and, almost a generational type player. But the issue is, especially as a rookie, he's being used as a backup wide receiver and a backup cornerback. So the snap counts have been a little inconsistent. The play time has been a little inconsistent, and it's led to poor numbers. I don't know. I still find it you have to play him on one side of the ball or the other. For me, I think he's more valuable as a cornerback than as a wide receiver. That's neither here nor there. I think, yes, yet again, those guys are going to struggle. As I said on Underdog, I like the under. I like the lower for Trevor Lawrence. So, Maybe Brenton Strange is they got to watch out for their tight end, but I'm not too worried in this particular matchup against Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter.
I don't agree with the utilization either. I think what they should have done probably is with that kind of draft capital, you really need him. And the trade that they, what they surrendered to get him, I think you need him playing receiver. So you play him at receiver, you let him actually learn that position, which he wasn't able to do in college. And then in year 2, you add the cornerback, or the other way around. You could do it the other way around, but I think they're kind of getting the worst of both worlds right now. But I hit on this yesterday. I think there is a culprit here that is neither of these players. It's not Liam Cohen either. Liam Cohen is handling CEO duties. He's handling the run game. But they hired a guy named Shane Waldron to be their pass game coordinator. Shane Waldron in fantasy circles is known as a bit of a fantasy terrorist, okay? Because 2 years ago, he was the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. Jackson Smith and Jigba struggled mightily. Actually, there was an interview with our old friend Mark Carman at the Super Bowl. Sterling, you remember this? Where he asked JSN about new Bears offensive coordinator Shane Waldron, and he was just like, is this live? Like he didn't want to answer the question, and that spoke volumes about him. He goes to Chicago. Roma Dunze is mid. And he leaves Chicago, and now Jackson Smith and Jigba is awesome in Seattle. Roma Dunze is awesome in Chicago. And now these guys that are kind of under his wings as the passing game coordinator in Jacksonville, they're struggling. So I think there's just a huge common denominator. I don't really expect this to clean up until he gets fired. I know the NFL is a good old boys club, but I do not know how this guy keeps getting this job. It just boggles my mind. And it sets up really well for a Dave Merritt secondary that is just absolutely on fire. We'll talk about Nohl Williams more later, but the entire secondary just looks as good. Maybe better than it did all of last season right now. Yeah. Number 3, George Karlaftis is second among edges in pressures the past 2 weeks with 15. Is he taking another step forward or simply beating up on backups?
No, I think this is more or less who he is. I think he's been a guy who's brought a lot of pressures throughout his career. I think some of the misconception is, this is not me trying to take a knock on George, because I really like George Karlaftis. They're not always the quickest pressures. Like, not all pressure is created equal, right? I feel like a lot of George Karlaftis pressures have been, and again, this is who he is, so you knew this coming in. He's doing a fantastic job to his level. He's never going to be Myles Garrett. He's not going to be a prime Bosa or a prime Watt. That's not his body type. It's just not going to work. But what he's doing is getting the most out of what he can do. And that to me is so impressive, because what he does bring is the consistency, not just bringing pressure. Again, maybe not the quickest pressure, but still pressures happen with him. He's also really good in the run game. And we're starting to see it translate to sacks, even if it is a 3-second sack, because with what the secondary is doing, gluing to the receivers, it's allowing Karlaftis to not, he's bringing the quarterback down. He's not letting him get through his grasp. We're not seeing a Breland Speak situation where he's scared to tackle the guy. So I've been very impressed with Karlaftis, but I still think this is more or less who he is. I think this is who he was towards the end of last year. If you want to count that as a step forward, all years, I'll entertain it. I just have always thought Karlaftis as a really good edge rusher. Not quite elite, but damn good and very valuable to this specific team.
Yeah, this question comes from an interesting back and forth I had with Mitchell Schwartz on Twitter, Chiefs ex right tackle. And arguing, I wasn't really arguing, but even debating line play with Mitchell Schwartz is like, okay, like I'm waving a white flag. But I maybe got out, maybe a little bit over my skis calling him a top 15 edge or so. But I think it's a hard conversation to have, because it's sort of like Rashee Rice on the other side of the ball. Is Rashee Rice in a vacuum a top 15 receiver, just talent-wise? Probably not. But in this system, is he a top 15 receiver? I think so. And George Karlaftis fits the Steve Spagnuolo. He is the platonic ideal of a Steve Spagnuolo defensive end edge. He is a power edge. He plays about 80% of the snaps. He's always among the snaps leader. He's an Iron Man. He's super durable. And yes, he does win late, but I think Mitchell's point was the past 2 weeks, Andrew Thomas goes out of the game. Ronnie Stanley goes out of the game. So he's kind of beating up on backups late in the game. But also that's a little unfair to George, because George tends to get stronger as the game goes along, because you're not going to beat his motor. You're not going to beat his conditioning. You're not going to beat his desire. He's just one of these guys who's going to be at his best at the end of the game. So I don't want to take too much credit away from him there.
It's different, obviously, different positions and different domination levels, but it's a little like Derrick Henry, where as the game goes on, he gets better. Karlaftis is the same way. He wears down offensive linemen earlier on in the game just with his consistent pressure and his consistent physicality to where he gets better as the game progresses. So you're right. Andrew Thomas did stonewall him, and then he took advantage of that afterwards. But again, it's not his fault that the back, he did what he was supposed to do. Do you want him to get no pressures, or do you want him to be second in the NFL in pressures for 2 weeks? I will take him beating up on backups.
And I shared that. I mean, when I shared that tweet showing that he was second in pressures in the NFL, I wasn't saying he's the second best edge. Like, we know he's not Jared Verse, and he doesn't like teleport, and he doesn't have Brian Burns' bend. But I think we get so caught up in what George Karlaftis is not, that we don't celebrate what he is. And he is a hell of a player that I think fits great alongside Chris Jones. Yep. Number 4, can Xavier Worthy put up over 1,000 yards in this offense? His 83-yard pace would put him well over that mark, and he's just heating up.
Can he? Yeah. Will he this year? No. Missing a couple games, I think, is going to really hurt him, and I think he'll be used a lot as a decoy. I don't think every game he's getting 80 yards, and it's not a bad thing. It's not going to be and he spoke today about it. It was an enlightening conversation in regards to he doesn't have, or was it today or yet, whatever it was, he doesn't have personal goals for himself. He was talking about personal goals, and he goes, I felt selfish. I felt selfish trying to talk about personal goals. And so my goals are just team wins. And it's just awesome to hear that from a player. It's incredible to hear that from a guy saying, I don't care what I do as long as the team wins. If I get 10 catches for 120 yards, awesome. If I'm the guy that takes the top off and all of a sudden that allows Juju Smith-Schuster to get open underneath, well, that's outstanding too, because that means I'm helping the team still. And so that's what I think when we look at a 1,000-yard receiver, he might get there, but I don't think every game he's getting 80. I think there's going to be some games where Xavier Worthy gets 40 yards tops, because he's opening up things deep for Tyquan Thornton. He's opening up things underneath for Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, and Hollywood Brown, and to an extent, Juju Smith-Schuster. It's not a knock on him. It speaks to his value, if you will, right? I know Jameson Williams, I think he went over 1,000 yards last year with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'll have to check and see if he did or not. I thought Jameson Williams did, but he's a lot of that type of player, to where it's not just what he does when he gets the ball in his hands, but what it allows other players on that team to do because of the fear he puts into defenses.
I'm with you. I don't think he's going to get 1,000 either. And the component that's not mentioned here is his rushing effectiveness. I think he is going to be someone who gives the Chiefs kind of a de facto running game with his end arounds and whatnot. I could see him averaging 20, 30 yards a game on the ground, and that would be very helpful to the Chiefs running back room, which isn't exactly setting the world on fire. But I expect Rashee Rice to come in here and pick up right where he left off, getting 80, 85, 90 yards a game. And for Xavier Worthy, I think he's going to do something like 65 yards a game. And I don't think it's going to be consistent. I think one game he could have 150 yards and just take the top off, and the next week he could have 30. I think he's going to be, when Rashee Rice is the engine of this offense and the focal point, I think he's going to be a little up and down. But the great thing about a player like Worthy is his impact is felt when he doesn't even have the ball, because he brings different speed to the table that only a few guys in this league, especially now that Tyreek Hill is hurt. You got Jameson Williams and a handful of other guys with this kind of speed, where you always have to account for where he is on the field. So very valuable regardless of what he does, but 1,000 I don't think is in the cards. Number 5, Kingsley Suamataia was the Chiefs' highest graded pass blocker last week, according to PFF. Surprising, but we'll take it. Against Baltimore, 88.2 was the grade. Was that significant progress, or was it just a plus matchup for him?
I hate saying both because I feel like it's a cop out. So I'm going to say Kingsley's progressing because I said that in the Giants game. I know in the Giants game, he didn't grade out great on PFF, but I was watching that game and looking back, I'm like, he had like one snap where he got beat pretty quick. Kingsley's been pretty darn good, and he is progressing game after game. I think we forget that he's always been tackle. I know guards should be easier. It should be easier. You have less one-on-ones and less times on an island. But it's still a transition for him. It was still going to be some growing pains. He's been fine. I think he's been about an average guard so far. And then he was great against backups, right? And he did his job. I don't always love when people say, well, he's up against backups. Well, technically, when, Charles Omenihu's in the game or Ashton Gelati's in the game or Omar Norman-Lott's in the game, those are backups. It's not like it's just straight starters, right? Because when a lot of guys come in, they're considered a backup, but they still get a lot of rotational snaps. I get it. It wasn't against Dexter Lawrence for 3 straight games. I understand that. But Kingsley Suamataia, I thought for the most part, has been pretty serviceable this year, bordering on like league average, which that's all you can ask for a guy playing 4 games. Now, I guess it's 5th because he played week 18 as a guard last year. Like, this is a good start for a young player who's very raw still. I'm very enthusiastic about the outlook of Kingsley because I think a lot of pressure's off him now that he's not on an island on the left side completely. And Josh Simmons has righted the ship. That left side to me has been better than I thought it was going to be.
When you get to be the middle of the Oreo between Josh Simmons and Creed Humphrey, that's a good place to live. And I think the thing about offensive line play is it's a weak link unit. So when the Chiefs have a stud at right guard, a superstar at center, a stud at left tackle, and honestly, at right tackle, when Jawan Taylor isn't killing momentum time and time again with penalties, he is a slightly above average pass blocker. So if Kingsley Suamataia is the weakest link and he's average, that is a really great offensive line. There are very few offensive lines in the National Football League that don't have one problematic player that they're trying to patch up desperately. And I mean, this is a good place to be. And you can see it in Patrick Mahomes' comfort level that I think he likes what the left side of the line is doing.
Yeah. I do want to talk about something here that I am passionate about. We have 5 more questions we're going to get to. Don't you worry. But this is something that's been huge for me. After a night out with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice. I can either have a great night or a great next day. And that is until I found pre-alcohol. Zbiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. So just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. I've loved Zbiotics pre-alcohol, man. I've been using it very often. I use it, especially if I watch Thursday Night Football. Actually, was it? Yeah, yesterday. I took this yesterday. Took it on Monday night as well. Again, you're getting older, like myself. I have a guy who's always struggled the next morning, and this helps dramatically. I like my 32-ounce beers when I go to the bar, and sometimes a Rumplemint shot might get thrown in there or two, and next thing you know, you're having fun. It's late at night. You're playing darts, and maybe your bet hit. So next thing you know, you're celebrating. And then you realize, oh, no, I have a long day tomorrow. I got to be on air. But what helped me out? The first thing I took was Zbiotics. I'm telling you, I told Richard behind the scenes, I go, dude, I need to get more of this. I need more of this. It is very, very helpful. So fall is here. And if you want to do what I do and you like to go out and have fun on Monday and Thursday night, maybe even the weekend, And it's time to enjoy that cooler weather and some football with drinks with friends, whether you're enjoying a fall festival, football, spooky cocktail at a Halloween party. Make sure you don't forget to drink a pre-alcohol before drinking. Celebrate and so wake up feeling good the next day. Go to Zbiotics.com/Arrowhead to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Arrowhead at checkout. Zbiotics is back with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to Zbiotics.com/Arrowhead and use code Arrowhead at checkout for 50% off.
Yeah, aging is a bitch. I always think of Big Ben Roethlisberger. When he was in his 20s, he was like the most indestructible quarterback ever. And when he got into his 30s, it was like they were, Humpty Dumpty. They were putting him back together every week, man. It was not, that guy was always hurt. He was not the same. And every Sunday you're like, is he going to feel good today and play okay? Or is he just going to, look like he doesn't want to be out there? And it's so anything that can help us deal with the aging process, I'm all for it. So I haven't tried this stuff yet, but it sounds terrific. Let's get back to the countdown. Number 6, Nohl Williams. This is a guy I'm very excited about. I'm calling him the Nohl Fly Zone. He's playing like Charvarius Ward. He's playing like L'Jarius Sneed. Have we seen enough to officially call him Veach's next D-back diamond in the rough?
Yes, I'm going to call it because I called it when Charvarius Ward had his first game in KC and got torched by Seattle. I said, watch out, Charvarius Ward's going to be great. There are certain traits that you see of a cornerback that stand out. He's not beat. He's never beat. He's always in the hip pocket of the receiver. He plays physical. I can live with physical. I can live with a penalty here and there. Some people, that's a huge issue for them. I know a lot of Chiefs fans didn't like Charvarius Ward because of some of the physicality coupled with not being able to track the football. I never had an issue with that. I just think some cornerbacks are different. He was the opposite of Marcus Peters. Both were really good in their own way. Again, it all is about scheme and how you fit. I think Nohl Williams fits in this defense very well. I am all in on Nohl Williams. All in. Yeah, I want to see more. And that first snap, I think, actually calmed his nerves when he kind of got beat by A.J. Brown. Like, if we look back on that, he probably got beat, like the one time he got beat, and he was more than likely a penalty, but it didn't get called. And ever since then, I feel like he got his confidence of, okay, I can do this. I'm good enough. If I can go one-on-one with A.J. Brown and then one-on-one with Devontae and one-on-one with all these other receivers he's gone up against, he goes, I can do this. So he's playing at a high level, and confidence for a cornerback is massive, and he's playing with confidence right now.
And even on that rep against one of the best receivers in football, you saw the closing speed. If he gets beat, he's shown the ability to close. The thing with Charvarius Ward that always made me laugh, people will talk about him getting mossed. Well, to get mossed by Ja'Marr Chase, you have to be in position to go toe-to-toe with Ja'Marr Chase in the first place. Like, most quarterbacks would not even be in that predicament because they would have got toasted, So, but I think his dog rating is just off the charts. He is a Doberman out there, man. And his tackling is great. He just looks like the next great press corner. And I think the track record for Veach, Dave Merritt, who we've already mentioned, and Steve Spagnuolo, and I guess the entire front office, drafting and developing this position in particular, there is not a better franchise in the NFL at finding corners outside of the first 2 rounds and turning them into studs, if not stars. Obviously, Trent McDuffie is a different story, but they just keep doing this. And honestly, the draft capital with him is better than Jalen Watson, L'Jarius Sneed, or Charvarius Ward. So I think there's a lot of reason to buy in. You're getting zero argument from me. 7, simply put, is Jags quarterback Trevor Lawrence any good at football?
Yeah, he's good, but like, there's levels and scales to this. He is in the what I call almost bucket quarterback, where you can pick about 12 guys-ish out of a bucket, put them in your team, and they're all going to be about the same guy. Like, is he the 12th best quarterback, the 15th best quarterback, the 18th best quarterback, the 11th best quarterback? Like, I think you could honestly have an argument for a lot of those rankings, and I'm not going to probably fight you too hard. He is a guy who's also had a ton of change almost every single year at OC, pass game coordinator, and head coach. it's not been easy for Trevor Lawrence. So there's always going to be levels to this. He's not had the best weapons all the time. The excuses are starting to dwindle now that you have Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter. Like, they're trying to sink pieces in here for him. He's not as good as the hype was, but I also don't know if he's as bad as some people make him out to be. I think he's average. Like, if you told me who's the most average quarterback in the NFL, he is going to be one of the names that comes up. That's fine. You can win a playoff game with him. I don't know if you can win a Super Bowl with him. Again, I think he is also one of the nicer quarterbacks I've ever talked with. I've had extended conversations. It was really hard for me to that's full transparency. It is hard. I used to love ripping on him as a joke because it was kind of a bit. And then I talked to him and I'm like, you know what? He's a really good guy. Very nice, very generous. I do root for him now because of that. Very funny too. But when it comes to actual football, I think average is the best way you put Trevor Lawrence right now.
And I think one of the reasons he gets so much flack, and he does seem like a nice guy, and he does seem like a pretty decent leader, is he was the prince who was promised. He was the best prospect since Andrew Luck. He was undeniable. He was the unquestioned 101. Nobody even asked for a second who the 101 was. It was just like, who's going to go second? Is it going to be Zach Wilson or, Mac Jones or Trey Lance or whoever? And he just hasn't been anything close to the prospect people thought the Jaguars were drafting. And man, this situation is really good. He's got a couple of good running backs. The offensive line, if you look at the data, they are playing their ass off. Liam Cohen has them gelling as a group. And beyond the two pass catchers we mentioned, you mentioned Brent Strange as well. I don't think Parker Washington and Dimey Brown are slouches for your third and fourth receivers. They're decent guys. He's been in much worse situations than this. I think before you could make the excuses, you're getting to a point where you have the right infrastructure around him. The defense even looks good for the most part. So, and maybe that's who they've played, but still, I think he really is running out of excuses. I don't want to say it's now or never. Sometimes the light comes on late. We've seen that with Geno Smith. We've seen it with Alex Smith. We've seen it with Baker Mayfield, but it might be approaching closing time for Trevor Lawrence. Number 8, running back Brashard Smith got 7 touches last week, more than twice as many as the first 3 games combined. Will his snap count and touch total continue to rise?
Yes. Dog Petter, again, the super chat earlier, Brashard Smith, 80 total yards on offense market. I don't think he's getting that much, but it's going to start getting closer to that as the season goes on. He's showing why he has to be out there. He's not going to be the 3rd and short guy or 4th and short guy. That is Kareem Hunt. I think the majority of the carries on 1st and 2nd down, yes, a split, but I still think Pacheco probably gets those for at least a couple more weeks. But you're going to start seeing more integration of Brashard because him, even as a pass catcher, not just a running back, but as a pass catcher, is so valuable. I mean, that 12-yard, 14-yard, catch on that screen pass was something that you will not see from Kareem or Pacheco. Bless those guys. They're not getting there. They're getting 2 yards, 3 yards. Brashard made that an easy first down. I understand he had a drop. Pacheco had a drop too. I mean, he turned nothing into something on that. The other guys just can't do it. I don't know if he's going to be a bell cow or a guy you want to give 15 touches a game to, but you got to start getting him close to 10 because, again, he is the most explosive guy and I think the most talented guy in the running back room.
I look at a running back down in Houston, Woody Marks, who didn't do much the first 3 weeks. And last week he had 119 all-purpose yards. And what's the difference between Marks and kind of the veterans who don't really have it anymore? He's trying to pass on the depth chart and Brashard Smith. And I think the difference is Woody Marks laid a guy out in pass protection last week. He looks like he's ready to pass protect on day one. That's just a big question mark with Brashard Smith. And Andy Reid and Matt Nagy have been hesitant to put him out there in pass blocking situations. So they must be seeing something in practice that makes them a little iffy with that. So I just don't know if he's going to get the opportunity to have that big breakout, but it could be on the horizon.
And they've all had him go in the game with another running back a lot of times. A lot of times he's not the only running back in the game. A lot of times it's pony sets or 2 running backs in the game, and he's one of them. So that is a good point, something to keep in mind.
And that's another thing to like about him. He is a converted wide receiver. So, a lot of times when reporters say, oh, X and X running back has been working in the slot, it's kind of hot air and it never translates to the season. But with him, it's a little bit different. He's a receiver who learned to play running back. So I think they can use him in a variety of ways, kind of like DeAnthony Thomas or something. Number 9, Travis Etienne and Bashal Tutin form a pretty imposing 1-2 punch for new head coach Liam Cohen's rushing attack. Can Nick Bolton and the Kansas City defense contain them?
Yeah, I think they can if that's what the focal point is, which I assume that's the focal point for Spagnuolo. You have to imagine it is. It's interesting. Tank Bigsby had taken over for Etienne, and they trade Tank Bigsby, and all of a sudden Etienne looks incredible again. It's very weird, the career of Etienne, where he looked good, then bad, and now he looks incredible. He's a very valuable pass catcher too, Etienne. That was the whole Urban Meyer where he might be a wide receiver. And you're like, well, I don't know. I don't think that. I think you're lying there, Urban Meyer. And he kind of was about a lot of things. But I think Etienne's a very talented player. I do think the Chiefs, what they do is they make you play left-handed. They take away what you do best. We've seen it time and time again. I think they'll take away the run game and make Trevor Lawrence try and pass, but that secondary is so good. I'm not saying they're going to keep them to a combined under 100 yards on the ground between those two guys total, but can you keep them under 120? Can you keep them under 115? That's probably the number I'd look at of those guys get 25 carries between those two dudes. Can you keep them under that?
This looks a lot like last year when Liam Cohen was in Tampa Bay and he took Bucky Irving and Rachaad White and that offensive line and turned it into one of the league's best running games. And I think the difference with Travis Etienne, health might be part of this story, but the play calling and offensive line in years past, I had him on some fantasy teams and would watch him quite a bit. And some of the Doug Peterson play calling where they just were running dives into brick walls with bad rushing just made me want to pull my hair out. And I think this is a genuinely inspired rushing attack from a creative standpoint. And just the line is really gelled into a cohesive unit. So, but Nick Bolton and that KCD, I like the way they're playing the run.
And again, the reason why I say that number 2 is they're going to probably get one big one. I mean, he's explosive. They're both explosive, but Etienne is. If he had one 30-yard rush in this game, I would not be surprised at all. And by the way, good call on Cohen because they went from the worst rushing attack in like all of football to one of the better ones last year with the same guys. Bucky Irvin played more, obviously, but Rachaad White looks a lot better too. So give Liam Cohen a lot of credit.
And I'm sure some of that is personnel on the offensive line, but good coaching compared to poor coaching can make a huge difference. Number 10, with a 2-2 record and the Bills and Chargers off the hot starts, plus the Lions looming, how crucial is this game? Let's rate it on a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, I don't know. 3, 4. You know my thoughts. I don't panic early in the year. You know this about me. I think it's a game the Chiefs should win, but I think Jacksonville is a solid team. I just don't think solid's good enough to beat KC right now. I don't think it's like a game where if they lose, oh, I'm panicked. Season's over. We got to readjust and, we got to figure some things out. Sure. But 2 and 3, there's a lot of games left, a lot of season left. And again, part of it is how long are we waiting for Rashee Rice to come back? We're 2 games away from that, right? Or I guess 4 games away. Whatever.
No, 2
games. I'm so bad at math. Like, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. So, and I think do they have a week 7 bye? So we'd see him in week 8, I think. I think it's about a 5 or a 6 just because of the way they started. I always expected them, even without Rashee Rice, to be at worst 3 and 3. It may end up looking a little bit different with them thumping the Ravens and losing to the Chargers. But if they can go into that Lions game at home, mind you, 3-2, and come out of this stretch where they started 0-2, 4-2, and now they get, Rashee Rice back coming off a bye, I believe. Man, the wind's going to be at their back.
Yeah.
And all those takes about the Chiefs are in trouble are going to look real silly real fast. But what's changed? I mean, just the day on the calendar, nothing else. So it's hard. I don't want to overlook a 3-1 team, but I don't think their record probably doesn't represent who they actually are, is the way I'd put it. So let's get to our final score prediction before we get out of here. Sterling, what's your prediction?
27-17 Chiefs. I think the Chiefs defense is too darn good right now. I think they do a fine enough job controlling the run attack of Tootin and Etienne. I still think the pass game for the Jags will be a little clanky, and the Chiefs won't turn the ball over, which has been the big difference for that Jags team for the 3-1 start. They have 13 forced turnovers so far. They're +9 in turnover differential. I don't see that coming to fruition in this game. The Chiefs offense looks better, but maybe not quite what it did against the Ravens, because I think the Jags defense is legitimately solid. I'll go 27-17 KC.
Yeah, I like that Jaguars pass rush. And we should mention that Travon Walker, the former first overall pick, had wrist surgery, but it sounds like he's going to play. I don't know how effective he'll be.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, he had surgery and it was week to week, and then he had surgery now it's like day to day. It's a very confusing situation. Could be gamesmanship. Who knows?
Could be gamesmanship. But I'm going to go 30-17. I think the Chiefs rediscovered a new gear last week, and we're pouring it on. And I think they're going to want to keep scoring 30 points if they can, and they want to keep the punt god off the field. I loved it. No punts during Mahomes's, I think, 7 series last week. That's what you want to see. You can't get any better than that. Not totally overlooking the Jaguars, but I just think they're going to be outcoached and outgunned in this one. And I think we have a little bit more business before we get out of here, don't we?
Yeah, final thing. We're just doing some giveaways. We want to keep growing the show. We want to keep growing everything behind the scenes as well. We want to have as many members as possible, and we want you to join. So for everyone who's already an Arrowhead Addict member, anyone who wants to become one, there is something exclusive happening just for y'all. Each month, we're running an exclusive giveaway just for our members. And this October, we've got some fantastic prizes lined up. If you are in our Ring of Honor tier, you're in the running to win a Joshua Simmons jersey. And for all our starting 11 members, we've got a Chiefs baseball cap giveaway waiting for you. All you have to do is be a member of either of those tiers by the end of October. We'll announce those giveaways live on the OG Hour on the first Thursday of every month, so be sure to tune in. Signing up is easy. Just click the link in the description of our YouTube videos. Arrowhead Addict members not only get entered into these exclusive giveaways, but they also get access to a private Discord with the hosts, special member happy hours. We have a lot of fun on those, talking bourbon, football, and a whole lot more. Fantasy football leagues, which I am waxing y'all in right now. And again, a whole lot more. We'd love to get to know you better. So what are you waiting for? Become an Arrowhead Addict member now and support the show.
And I misspoke. Their bye week is actually week 10, and it's sandwiched in between playing at Buffalo. Is it at Buffalo?
We'll figure it out later.
And then at Denver. They go to Denver. And, honestly, I'm going to keep it real with you guys. The Chiefs are so great. I don't do a whole bunch of schedule thinking ahead. I just don't. I know they're going to take care of business. You kind of take things week to week. I'm not one of these strength of schedule guys because things change so much from year to year. But that's all we've got for you guys today. Thanks to the chat. You always bring it here on Freaky Friday. If you dig Arrowhead Addict, here are a few ways you can help our community. First of all, subscribe here on YouTube. That way you never miss a show or short. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please do. If you're an audio listener on either Spotify or Apple, please consider giving a 5-star review. That will help us reach more listeners. And lastly, check out the mothership, ArrowheadAddict.com. Matt Carr and the gang will keep you filled in every day, but especially all the way up to Monday's kickoff. Join us live next Friday back at our normal time of 3 p.m. Central right here on the Arrowhead Addict channel. Until then, go Chiefs.